Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andrew Snorton with Creative Community Solutions. And as you're aware, whenever we're covering different events from arts and entertainment, sports, government, community, every once in a while we get a chance to talk with the people who are really making some really good things happen. So as a reminder, the written article and recap will be available on my website at asnortonccs.com/blog. And it should be one of the very first articles the video that you're seeing will be available on the YouTube channel for Creative Community Solutions, LLC. And we'll make sure to have this article posted in addition to our website, on our Facebook page at Creative Community Solutions, LLC, Instagram and Twitter at asnortonccs, and we'll also have it available on our LinkedIn. And anytime we get a chance to talk with people in the community, especially when they are being proactive with their stewardship and service, it's always great to kind of catch them pausing for it. They still stay in motion, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to have our guests introduce themselves, and then we're going to go get into the great event that they have taking place on Wednesday, April 27th. So here we go.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Hey, my name is Vaughn Sanders. I am the Senior Director of Pastoral Services here at Mercies Christian Church in Lilburn, Georgia. I'm excited to be a part of this interview, and I want to thank you in advance, Andrew.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I appreciate you all having me aboard. My name is Dr. Vaughn Gay. I'm a licensed professional counselor and Executive Director of Holistic Atlanta. I also serve as a Director of Counseling Ministry at New Mercies Church. And again, I'm glad to be a part of this conversation as well. Looking forward to talking about this great event we have coming up this week.
And again, thank you both, not only for just what you're doing within the church, but just in general. So Dr. Gay, let's walk through the importance of counseling. Now, we kind of hear about, counseling in schools and what have you, but why is it so important to have a counseling presence within the faith community, especially people are like, well, we're sorry about it. But walk through with us why it's necessary to have counseling services present in the faith community.
Over the last 5 years, I've had a number of conversations, and we talk about minority communities and how we deal with a number of mental and emotional and social challenges. One of and I think it got a little bit of a negative connotation, but we always talk about how people in our community, we're very quick to pray it out, right? We'll use a little bit of a spiritual framework. We'll give that, the obstacle to God, and then we'll step away from it. But it always brought me back to the, faith without works is dead. So we must make sure that we continuously do work here every day, within our lives. And so when we start to bring the mental health and the faith communities together, we understand there's a lot of opportunity for growth, not only for us as practitioners and as faith leaders, but also as the individuals within the flock. And so having those that are ordained and licensed to be able to work in this space is very important, because we're able to fill in that gray area and are able to expedite some outcomes, because now we have two different approaches to help one individual deal with one specific challenge. So I think it's just adding additional resources to what we've already been doing traditionally within our community for a long time.
And I really like what you said there, because you incorporated faith without works is dead. So it's not that you can't pray, but you have to do something in addition.
Have to do the work in addition to it. Absolutely.
And I also like what you said about providing access to resources. I always like using the analogy, you go to your toolbox. Now you have multiple tools that you can use based on what's going on.
Right.
Mr. Sanders, I want you to build upon that concept of providing multiple tools, multiple resources, because what you're doing here, this is just part of different ways the church is being proactive in, I'll say, ministering not only to the congregation, but the greater community.
Well, thanks. Once again, thank you, Andrew. Well, this vision is really a vision that was started by our pastor, Pastor Jesse Kearney III, who's our pastor at New Mercies Christian Church. When I came on staff here in October, towards the beginning of the year, I started noticing in my conversations with different parishioners that, they love God and they love the word, but, they were going through a whole lot of things. So I went to Pastor, we had a conversation, and I said, he realized there was just, there was a need. So we talked about the need, and we came up with different ways of addressing those needs. And one of the suggestions that we came up with is having one of the last Wednesday night of the month, instead of having Bible study, why don't we have something, create a conversation and talk about mental health to address the mental health issues. Because COVID has really lifted the veil on mental health issues that we are already having in our church. I think it just helped us to see those different things going on. Some of our leaders may have not had COVID, but some of their family members may have been passed away, or just dealing with it, just being stuck in the house. I mean, just the simple things. I mean, as we were dealing with COVID, we couldn't go we couldn't go different places and stuff like that. So that had a lot to do with mentally. So this week will be our third installation of Candid Conversations. The first one we dealt with, and Dr. Gay helped facilitate that. We dealt with why is it important to address mental health in our church community as well as our regular community. We also dealt with dealing with COVID emotionally. How do I deal with it? The side effects of it. Then the last point that we dealt with on that night was suicide. Unfortunately, suicide is at an all-time high. It was already creeping up before COVID, but COVID just really exposed the problem of suicide. And ironically, suicide knows no color, no gender, no age group. I mean, it affects each one of us in each area of lives. And unfortunately, for a long time, the church has not been addressing that. The second installation of Candid Conversations that we dealt with last month was parents just don't understand. I mean, and, as being the pastoral director or pastoral services director, parents come to me and say, listen, my child, I don't know how to deal with my child. I need some help. So once again, we designed a whole conversation around how parents and children can address and talk with each other, because Andrew, as you can attest, and also Vaughn Gay, as you can attest, the way we grew up is completely different than the way the children now are growing up. I mean, the children now have technologies. We didn't have technologies. We barely have phones and stuff. So, I mean, now the child is, the average child is very tech savvy. So there's a lot of information they can just click on the phone and get to where, we didn't know this information. So we felt that it was important, and we're going to continue on the topics of addressing the conversation, the communication gap between the parents and the young adults. So I think I talked well enough, so I'm going to turn it back to you, Andrew.
Well, no, I tell you what, because when you're talking about areas of concern, and to your point, one of the observations of the faith community is there are some topics they didn't necessarily talk about or want to talk about. And when you're getting into areas of mental health and illness, that conversation is a long overdue conversation. I'm going to pivot to Dr. Gay in regards to some of the things that Mr. Sanders spoke to. When you're having these conversations, and like you said, the last Wednesday, based on the research, are you seeing a number of the, I'll say, the same areas of concern that are popping up on a larger scale? Are you seeing them pop up within just the congregation as well as the immediate community?
I think what happens is we have to continuously remind ourselves that, people within the congregation are from the community, right? And so these issues, if they're going on in the surrounding community, the likelihood that they're affecting the congregation as well is pretty high. As Vaughn was saying, this, I guess, working within the field, we already saw the layer peeled off before COVID even hit. And so I think what COVID did was hold up a really big mirror to American society and say, hey, look, listen, this is what's been going on for a long time. And this is how you all have not been dealing with these issues. So now you're presented with an opportunity to let these issues steamroll you over, or you pivot. You allow innovation to come into place, and then you pivot and come up with some creative solutions, which is actually what brought us here together. But to answer your question, yes, we have seen a significant increase in stress, acute stress, meaning that, these are things that are happening specifically, maybe it's job driven or family related, but it is acutely impacting people and spiking their stress levels. Depression, of course, issues with major depressive disorder, your generalized anxiety. In young people, you see a lot more conduct disorder and oppositional defiant disorder, in addition to anxiety. And that's with, those students having to get back into the school setting. Some did not want to go back in there. Some have been chomping at the bit. So, we're starting to see how mental health truly impacts every single person, because, how you may be feeling today is completely how I may be feeling. But if we're working in the same space, these things may actually have an impact on you, and we have to address that. So we're in a new frontier. We're in a new frontier in terms of treating mentally unhealthy people while also treating true diagnosable mental illnesses. This is going to be a very unique next 25 to 30 years to see how we're taking this to the next level, because what if we have another pandemic, or what if we have something else that really impacts our society? Will we be prepared? Will this be a really good learning lesson? Or will another mirror be held up to us at a future point in time, showing us the work that we still have not done to this day?
And I'm glad you shared that, because it's almost like every is a check mark or check. Well, see how far we've progressed, but what progress we still need to make. Mm-hmm. I'm going to pivot back to Mr. Sanders. So this Wednesday, as I said before, the fourth Wednesday of each month, could you give people the date, the time, the location, and based on what you've already shared, what's one thing you want the community to take away from the last Wednesday?
Well, thanks once again, Andrew. This Wednesday, we will have our third installation of Candid Conversations. And the title of it is Making It on Broken Pieces. And we have, our moderator will be Mr. Greg Gray, a well-renowned speaker, motivational speaker, life coach, professional guy. Also, Dr. Vaughn Gay will be one of the panelists. And the two other panelists are Pastor Lee Robbins, who has a phenomenal testimony. Businessman, he has a tremendous testimony of how, even while he's preaching in the pulpit, he was falsely arrested and incarcerated for a crime he didn't commit. But he didn't let that prison experience deter him. God actually used that prison experience to enhance his ministry. So he has a great testimony of how he's overcome making it on broken pieces. And our other panelist is Leanne. Many people know her as Lily from the singing group SWV. And we have designed some, it won't be your average interview, as we would say. We designed it, it's kind of laid back, a candid conversations. And the purpose of this is to address people and to let them know that, listen, we see the glory, but we don't know the story behind them. And also, we all have a storm that we're either gone through, we have to go through, or that we went through. And your storm does not have to dictate to you your outcome. We can dictate to that storm. And listen, we're not perfect. I think that's one of the problems that we as the church community try to portray, or that's been one of the bad stigmas about the church. We feel as if everybody's perfect. Contrary to belief, there is no perfect person. There is no perfect church. We are all striving to get there. And so the purpose of Wednesday night is to let everybody know, listen, you have a future, and that future is bright. Despite what you've been going through, whatever you've been going through, listen, you still can make it. So you're going to, if you tune in, it's going to be this Wednesday, December, this April the 27th at 7 o'clock at New Mercies Christian Church in Lilburn, Georgia, 4000 Five Forks, Trickham. If you can't be here in person, you can always look up on Facebook, New Mercies Christian Church on Facebook. We're going to live stream it. And then we're also on YouTube at New Mercies Christian Church. live stream. So there are 3 different ways of viewing this. And we just want to challenge you. If you can't make it in person, you can always view it on live. Or, if you're busy during that time, just look at it the next day. But we just wanted to reach out to our community and let everybody know, listen, there's hope. We all have something that we're struggling with. We all have some issues. Even as leaders, we have issues. And the main issue is we don't know how to release those hurts, those trials, and those tribulations. And sometimes, I was just talking to Vaughn Gay, I was talking about an hour ago. Some of us, as leaders, we take in so much, I don't want to say trash, but we're like trash containers. We take in so much. So when do we get a chance to dump our stuff out or release? And so this is one of the reasons that we found it so important to address the mental health issues in our community, because it's not only for the average person, it's not only for the average church person, but it's also for leaders. We are human, no matter what your title is. If you cut us, no matter what your title is, guess what's going to happen? You're going to bleed. Mm-hmm. And what we're finding out is that we have a lot of people, including leaders, that are bleeding, and we don't know how to put the Band-Aid on it. We don't know how to go in and get some help. So I just want to challenge everyone just to tune in, and you'll learn something about each one of the speakers, and I think it'll bless you.
Well, I tell you what, Mr. Sanders, Pastor Sanders, we appreciate it. No, seriously, because even if, quote, that's not your title, you're still pastoring and you're still ministering. And you provided the date, the time, the location, and the virtual opportunity. And in true faith form, this is the number of completion, because I was keeping track. So this is round 7, and we're going to have Dr. Gay close us out. So Dr. Gay, we've got great access to great resources, things along these lines. People don't remember anything else about this coming Wednesday, 7 p.m. at New Mercies Christian Church. And if you're not able to be there in person, there are online options. There's one takeaway that you'd like for people to have. What would you want to share with our audience?
I think this particular conversation is going to be one that you won't forget. And I don't mean that in a cliche fashion. What I mean is you're going to see people that are very raw, people that have achieved a certain level of success, and they're going to share what that looks like along that journey. It's a lonely journey. Being able to build certain things within your career or within business. And so, you're going to hear individuals are going to talk about, some of those challenges that they had along the way. And then also what happens when you lose it all, and then how do you bounce back? And I think that's a story that can resonate with so many people, whether it's young folks, young adults, those in their early adulthood, or even those that have walked a similar path, and have achieved and then been able to kind of lose certain things. I think it's a conversation that's going to resonate with all, and I really encourage you all to be able to tune in.
Well, I tell you what, gentlemen, I thank you both for taking time out of your day to discuss, I like to say stewardship is not sedentary. And in that lens, ladies and gentlemen, the last Wednesday of each month, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at New Mercies Christian Church located in Lilburn, Georgia. If you're able to be there in person, be there. If you're not able to, as was shared before, there are online options. And as we get ready to close this out, as a reminder, our recap will be available on our website at asnortonccs.com/blog, or when you go on asnortonccs.com, click on the menu and coverage. It'll be the very article that you see, which will be available April the 26th. A reminder, the event is April the 27th. As again, this is a recurring series last Wednesday. The video that you're watching will be available on our YouTube channel, Community Solutions LLC. It will also be embedded in the article, which will go out on media platforms of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, if this is the first time that you've connected with our guest, please don't let it be the last. If it's your first time connected with me, don't let it be your last. Until next time, and leave out on a positive note, whether slow or swift, movement is movement, whether small or big, victory is a victory. So stay moving and stay victorious. and we'll see you all real soon.